Unless you've been living under a rock over the past year, you've probably heard about
Inflation.
Inflation.
Inflation is
To tackling inflation.
Understand the hardship that high inflation is causing.
The Federal Reserve is raising interest rates.
Highest inflation rates in the U.S.
Just last week, the Fed raised rates by another 25 basis points, or 0.25%, which means that mortgage rates are just going to get more and more expensive. So what are you supposed to do if you want to buy a house in 2023 when mortgage rates are the highest they've been in over 15 years and it's a seller's market? Well, today we're going to answer these questions. Before we jump in, if you like well-researched videos that help you better understand how the business world works and how to best handle your personal finances, consider hitting that little subscribe button. I make 2 videos like this one a week, and as a thank you for subscribing, I promise that I will never, ever, ever clickbait you or make one of those over-sensationalized the world is falling apart videos like Graham Stephan does. Nothing against Graham, he makes awesome content, I love a lot of it, I just personally don't feel good about that clickbaity stuff. Anyway, let's jump into what you should do if you want to buy a house in 2023. First of all, if you have $400,000+ saved up in cash and you can buy your house outright in cash, congratulations, that's awesome. But this video really isn't for you because interest rates don't really matter in your case. But if you're like the rest of us and you need to get a mortgage to buy a house, what should you do? Honestly, this may sound crazy and the opposite of what you've been taught about personal finance, but hear me out, I have mathematical proof behind my thesis. Right now, we are in a unique economic time where interest rates are really high, and we know that the Fed is trying to put recessionary pressures on the economic environment. So if you're wanting to buy a house, instead of buying now, you should just keep renting and saving as much as possible to add to your down payment and buy in the next 1 to 3 years. Now, I know this sounds crazy. Renting is just throwing away money, right? Well, not exactly. In order to understand why, you need to understand amortization. Mortgage amortization is the process of paying off your home loan over time by making regular payments. Each payment has 2 main parts, principal and interest. Principal is the amount of money you borrow to buy your home, and the interest is the cost of borrowing that money, so right now 6 to 7%. At the beginning of your mortgage, a larger portion of your payment goes towards interest, and only a very small part goes towards the principal. Over time, this gradually changes as you make payments. The principal portion of your payments gets bigger, and the interest portion gets smaller. So let's say you buy a house for $420,000 and your monthly payment is $2,555. In the first month, only $280 or 11% of that payment actually goes to equity. The rest is interest. Now you might be thinking, Kobe, I would much rather be building some sort of equity than no equity at all, so how does putting off getting my mortgage actually help me save money? Well, let's use an example to illustrate it. We've got 4 people, Now Neil, first year Fred, second year Sam, third year Theodore, and saving Steve. Now Neil buys a $420,000 house at the 6.9% interest rate. Over the life of the loan, Neil will pay $797,000 paying that loan back. First year Fred rents for a year at the average rental price in the United States of $1,700 a month and gets a mortgage of 6% because the Fed cuts rates as the economy slows. He only spends $745,000 across the loan, including the rent that he paid when he wasn't having the mortgage. Second year Sam gets a rate of 5.5% and he spends $728,000. Third year Theodore gets a 5% rate and pays $710,000 across the life of the loan, even including the 3 years he rented. And then we've got saving Steve, who waits 2 years to buy a house like second year Sam did, but he also saved an additional $1,000 a month to add to his down payment. And with this, he gets a smaller loan and only pays $678,000, which saves him a whopping $118,000 when compared to Now Neil. And if you're thinking, well, I can just get a house now and then refinance it later when rates are lower, you're right, you can do that, except refinancing a house usually costs between 2 and 6% of the loan amount, which in this example would be between $6,000 and $20,000. So it's definitely not a free thing to do. Now, to be fair, this analysis does rely on the Fed lowering rates to work, but that will probably happen in the next couple of years as inflation falls and the economy starts to struggle. But either way, the point is that you probably aren't actually throwing away that much money by renting in 2023 instead of buying a house. Eventually, I do think that most people should try to own a home, but this math shows that you don't need to stress about getting into a home ASAP, especially if you think the economy is going to turn south in the next couple of years. It could be really smart to wait and take advantage of lower interest rates when they come. But what do you think? Do you agree with my analysis? If you see any flaws in my logic, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, if you like learning about personal finance and want to see more well-researched videos like this one, hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.